Bryant McFadden from CBS Sports HQ what he expects from the Browns in 2025.
It's going to be a Brown-like year for Cleveland. I think they're getting ready for 2026. This is kind of like a rebuild, to say the least. They stockpile on draft picks as they look towards the future. And this season will clarify their mindset moving forward outside of 2025. Tyler, I see 3 wins, best case scenario. You look at their schedule.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, where you see 3 wins, I don't know, but best case scenario, I see 3. Tennessee definitely is 1 win for sure. It should be. But trying to pencil in another 2 more wins is hard. Maybe Minnesota with J.J. McCarthy at home there in Cleveland, that could maybe work out. And there's always a game for Cleveland. They win a game they're not supposed to win. They're playing against a better team, and they find a way to squander out a victory. That's probably going to be their 3rd win for them this season. So it's going to be a long, long year for Cleveland Browns fans. But I think they kind of understand that as they look towards the future.
Let's welcome in Scott Petrak, Browns beat reporter for the Chronicle-Telegram as well as BrownZone.com. Scott, I think the schedule's tough. They won 3 games last year. I would be stunned if they only won 3 or 4 games again this year.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be stunned. I mean, that's about where the over-under is, depending on where you look, it's 4.5 or 5.5. But I'd be surprised. I think they're going to be better. And, who knows who's playing quarterback. And that's the biggest factor in all this. It's hard to predict a win in any week, let alone across a 17-game schedule, when you're not sure who's going to play quarterback. But, having said that, I would assume the Browns are going to be better running the ball this year. I think they'll be better on defense. And I would assume that the turnover discrepancy isn't nearly as bad as it was last year when they turned it over a ton and didn't force hardly any takeaways. And if you even get back to even, then I think that win total just naturally bumps up from 3 a year ago.
I know you wrote an article. The start to the season's it's pretty brutal. Take us through kind of that article and what your thoughts are there.
Yeah, to me a couple things stood out. And first of all, if you contrast it with last season, I remember we talked last year, and you knew looking at the way the schedule shook out that the Browns would have to pile up wins early because it was the Giants at home, there was Vegas. I think they had Tennessee early in the season. Like, they had games that you felt, okay, the Browns need to win these games. The problem was they didn't win nearly enough of those games, and all of a sudden then you get to the meat of the schedule and you're already behind the 8 ball. This year, the schedule early is the opposite. It's really difficult. They open at home against the Bengals. The Bengals have one of the best offenses in the league, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. At Baltimore, home for Green Bay, at Detroit, London for Minnesota, and at Pittsburgh. So I don't think they're going to be favored in any of those first 6 games. They only have a couple of those at home. The one home game is in London. And you're looking at 5 of those 6 teams outside of the Bengals who won 9 games. The other 5 teams made the playoffs a year ago. And Detroit won 15, Minnesota won 14, and Green Bay won 11. So it's just a really difficult start to the schedule. Now, if the Browns can keep their head above water, then it gets easier. Then you get a bunch of home games late, and there's a chance to make some hay if you can hang around early. But it's the type of schedule early where you go, man, maybe the season gets away from them.
Yeah, without question. When you look at it, and here's why I said I'd be stunned. You look at this defense in 2025, the pieces of it. What do you see?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think I see a defense that will settle in somewhere between where it was in 2023 when it was, ranked number 1 in yardage and where it was last year. And can that be top 10? I certainly. You got a stud in Myles Garrett. You have Mason Graham, the number 5 pick that you expect to help the interior of the defensive line. You still have Denzel Ward and Martin Emerson Jr. and Greg Newsome II, and they have depth at corner, Cam Mitchell, who I like. I think they have some questions at safety, although they added a couple veterans. Linebacker, you're going to miss JOK, but you drafted Carson Schweissinger. So I just think when you have like Denzel Ward and a defensive end pass rusher like Myles Garrett and a coordinator like Jim Schwartz, it has a chance to be really good.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the defensive line, because you've drafted your top two picks the last 2 years have been tackles. So you had Alex Wright's coming back. Before he got hurt, he was playing pretty well. Isaiah McGuire, the pieces are there defensively. Now I get the questions about the offense because I can't tell you who's going to play quarterback. I think you've got two really good running backs. I think you got a tight end. If he stays on the field, he can be pretty good. The wide receiving core, man, that's got a lot of that has more question marks than a fifth grade reading book.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think there's way fewer questions on defense, and you have premium players on that side of the ball. Yeah, I think you said it well on offense. I think they have two tight ends, if they're healthy, that are good. I think the running back room got upgraded, especially, when Nick Chubb wasn't playing last year. And then Nick Chubb, we've talked about that a ton. But you had two new rookie backs that I think are going to add some juice to that running game. You get Jerry Jeudy at receiver, and then a bunch of question marks. And I think the line's going to be fine. I do have a question about DeJuan Jones at left tackle. Just, can he stay healthy? Is he ready to play every snap at left tackle for the first time in a long time, or maybe ever in his career? So there's some questions on that side of the ball. There's no doubt about it, and none bigger than who's going to start a quarterback.